To fear, he was a stranger. To adventure, he was a friend. To the people, he was a legend. To her, he was everything.
When the gods want to banish you, they answer your prayers.
Robert Redford. Meryl Streep in a Sidney Pollack film, Out of Africa.
Now playing at a theater near you. Consult your local listing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Not Content Podcast. My name is Jerome and we are continuing our discussion of 1985. We are ending not with a bang, but with a whimper as we are leaving the continent, and we are going to go and, I guess, colonialize Africa in the movie Out of Africa. Please leave a 4 or 5 star review on Apple or Spotify to let people know about the great work that we are doing here as part of the From the Cube Podcasting Network. Just for the record, we are not actually colonizing. We are not in favor of that, as will become evident as we discuss the movie. My co-host is, of course, Brian. He does a lot of the behind-the-scenes work for the show in terms of the editing and whatnot. So make sure that you give him some love. And as part of that, of course, is our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Click the bell icon for notifications. Brian, so the reason that we did this movie is very simply because it won Best Picture for the year 1985, the 58th Academy Awards that were held in 1986. And look, there is no other context in which I would be probably interested in watching this movie. There is no other context in which I think it would work to really watch this movie. So I basically was like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's watch Out of Africa, a movie that has some tremendous pedigree behind it. Behind the camera, you have Sidney Pollack as the director of this movie. You also have Robert Redford, an Academy Award winner in his own right. You have Meryl Streep, who is perhaps will go down as one of the greatest performers of all time in terms of the number of Academy Awards that she has both won and been nominated for. She was, in fact, nominated for this movie. She did not win. She lost to Geraldine Page. And if you go across the board, if you look at all the categories, you will see, or many of the categories, you will see that Out of Africa was extremely well represented, including, and look, I could say a lot of things about this movie that are not very nice, but I have to say, this movie won Best Original Score. That was John Barry that did it, and I gotta say, I think this earned that Oscar. I think that is the clear highlight of this movie. The music, the score is really good, and in a better movie, I think I would have appreciated it even more. But there's something going on here, and I think that John Barry does a really good job here.
Well, it's known as one of the greatest soundtracks of all time. AFI listed it on that list back in the day. I kind of agree it's a really good soundtrack, but then, I don't know, it kind of gets forgotten sometimes. Like, there's some really silent moments in the film, which I guess is, purposeful from Cindy Pollack or whatever, but I would say the soundtrack is probably the highlight along with the cinematography. The acting's good. I wouldn't say it's great. I really got annoyed with Meryl Streep's accent, whatever that attempt at a Danish accent was. And look, she's Meryl Streep. She's got so much pedigree. At this point in her career, she can do whatever action she wants, right? But it just got annoying after like the first 2 acts. By the third act, she kind of settled in, it felt like, and it wasn't as annoying. But when she was just kind of like all up in people's faces and trying to be a Karen to everybody and just trying to like get her way on everything, even though she's just this outsider coming into some foreign country kind of gimmick, and it just, I don't know, man. This character rubs me the wrong way, and a lot of these characters rub me the wrong way because of the colonialism. But for the aesthetic, I can see why I got nominated. Like, if you're one of those Academy voters who just kind of votes blindly and doesn't watch the movies and just kind of looks at the picture on the artwork and like, oh, this looks beautiful, I'll vote for this one. That kind of voting, which I hear is going to be outlawed soon in terms of the Academy Award voters, which might be a true thing or not. But it would be nice that if an Academy Award voter is going to vote on a movie, they should actually watch the movie.
Yeah, I mean, that would certainly be helpful. I mean, look, I think that this movie is, when you think of the stereotype of the Academy Award winning movie, I think you would point to something like this. And it's just, I mean, 1985, if you look at the nominations and you look at the movies in general, like 1985 is flat out not a great year. Like the only other movie that the movie that really stands out to me is Witness. That probably should have just swept. You probably should have just given Harrison Ford his Oscar. You should have given it Best Picture, and you should have made that the big winner. I think that movie is much better than this one, in terms of what it's trying to do, in terms of the performances, in terms of the story. I think the thing about this movie is that it is very unengaging and it feels very distancing. And I think that's the fundamental problem with it. I think this movie goes out of its way to not engage with the audience in any way. It just, especially Robert Redford, like his character, is just, I don't know what movie he's in. And I don't, like, Robert Redford is somebody who, if you watch him in almost any other movie, he is such an engaging performer. And I definitely would liken him to somebody like a Jimmy Stewart, just in terms of his ability to kind of engage with the audience, no matter what he's doing and no matter what kind of movie he's in. But this just felt very different than anything else I've seen him in, and not in a good way. And there's no there. And I think that is the problem with this movie, is that in order for romantic drama to work, you really have to have the two components. If you don't have both components, if you don't have the chemistry, then your movie is going to fail. And that's why I think this movie fails. And I compare this to, and I know you did as well, to something like Titanic. And look, Titanic, I don't think is a perfect movie, but I think that there are two things that that movie does extremely well. Number one, Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet have a lot of chemistry together. And a lot of the flaws of the movie get covered up by that chemistry. The other thing that it has is it has literally a historical event taking place that creates more drama in the relationship. So you don't really have to either manufacture the drama like I think you do here. Like these two are debating, like, oh, should I stay or should I go? And it feels very ham-fisted. Whereas with something like Titanic, literally the boat is about to come apart in half, and like decisions have to be made. And I'm not going to go back to the door, like, can he fit on the door? But like, there is something engaging about that movie that this movie just doesn't ever do. This movie, like, in some ways, this is the type of movie that this is why people make fun of the Oscars for.
Absolutely. And it's not just the fake, stupid European accent that Meryl Streep has that I'm obsessed with. But you talk about the chemistry. Okay, so like I'm not a big Titanic fan. I think I mentioned that before, but at least in Titanic, the two leads actually felt like they were in love with each other after a few days. In this case, I don't even think Robert Redford's character, Dennis, is even in love with Meryl Streep. I think he's just like convenient, like it's a convenience for him, right? He can just come in, get laid, have a day or two off, and then go back on the safari, right? And that's all his character is. We don't even see him on the safari. I mean, we do with Meryl Streep, but not on his own. And it just seems like he's just coming in, doing his own thing, doesn't even love her, and leaves. And then that's supposed to be romantic? It's supposed to be, I don't know, because at the end of the movie, when we're at his funeral, spoiler alert, he gets killed off screen.
Which
I don't think yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I don't even think she says the word "I love you," right? Like ever. So it's just like,
it's
how am I
really
supposed to buy
bizarre.
into it? Yeah.
Like, of
Look,
course,
yeah.
like Klaus Maria Brandor is supposed to play this terrible husband, and he is terrible. Let's not mince words. Like, if we're gonna go with the Titanic connection, like he is to this movie as Billy Zane is to Titanic. But like the thing is, like, again, the problem is that this movie just doesn't go all the way with him. Like he literally played a Bond villain at one point, and this just feels like, yes, he is a terrible person, but it doesn't feel like he goes far enough in terms of just. And I'm not saying like he has to physically abuse her, but it just feels like there has to be more. I needed more from this movie. I needed more emotion from this movie. If you're going to tell me that you're going to direct an emotional romantic drama, I need to feel an emotional romantic drama, because like this, like something like, I don't know, All the President's Men, like I think it's okay that movie has a little bit of sterility to it. Like, I'm not expecting hyper emotion from it, But like, if you're going to promote this as a romantic drama, if you're going to give me the big sweeping vistas, if you're going to give me this score that is done by John Barry, who John Barry has done a lot of scores for the Bond movies, like I need something from Robert Redford and Meryl Streep, and we know that they are capable of doing it because Meryl Streep literally did this much better with Clint Eastwood like 10 years later.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I think Sidney Pollack was just hot off a Tootsie, and I felt like he was just trying to like go for that Oscar again. You know what I'm saying? In this case, he just went full swing and had the bigger budget. Probably read this book and listen. You got to remember too, like "Bless the Rains Down in Africa," the Toto song "Africa" was a big hit in 1982, and this came out in '85. So my conspiracy thinking is with the subconscious is that like Sidney Pollack probably read the book, got a copy of the screenplay, played the song, and was like, "Yeah, this is it, man. I want to make a movie about Africa." And that's what this is. It's just like like a fantasy, almost fetishization of like Africa, where there's like no consequences of colonialism, where everyone is like, like, "Oh, thank you for coming in and giving us education," or "Thank you for coming in and giving us our land back that you stole in the first place." It's like, what the fuck is going on here? It's like there's this white savior shit going on with the Meryl Streep character, and it's like, what? How did she even get like a property or like some kind of title of land in Africa? We never even see that part. It's just like we're going to Africa to start a dairy, and she ends up doing coffee anyway. But the point is like, how did she get from A to B? It's like this giant jump in logic of her getting to Africa, marrying one of her friends, and they don't even have that much money and
I
they're
mean,
out
I
there
think
playing like I don't know. I don't
the
know.
gimmick with this movie is that we're being taken through a series of vignettes, right? So I don't think it necessarily is meant to be totally cohesive. I think it is intended to be a little bit episodic, and do not take this to mean that I'm defending the movie necessarily, but I think that the logic that they would present to you is that these are meant to be more vignettes than taking this in totality as one story.
And that was another issue too I had was the editing is just like these constant jumps in time, and it feels like there was a lot of time shown in this movie, but it felt like it was a ton of time, if that makes sense. Because
This
I can
movie
tell like there's a lot of going
simultaneously
on.
this movie simultaneously felt too long and too short.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how that happened because this is 2 hours and 40 minutes, but it just felt like because they mentioned at the beginning like your crop is going to take 3 to 4 years, and she's like, "What? Why is it going to take that long?" And then later on in the movie, we see the crop harvest, so it's got to assume it's like 3 to 4 years, and then the relationship that she
Yeah, I
has with
mean, this is
Redford
taking
is
place
like
over
that
years.
seems like over years too, but then it just seems like they don't age much or whatever. So there's some weird stuff going on here in terms of the timeline.
I mean, in 3 to 4 years, they're not going to age much, but I mean, change their hair, do something. Like, have one of them grow a beard. Like, do something. Like, there are signals that you don't have to age them down or age them up. Like, there are subtle things that you can do to show passage of time.
Yeah, and they just don't do it at all in this movie. So it's very disappointing considering that Sidney Pollack is a talented director. But I don't know if this is something that's up his alley, but he got rewarded for it. So it's like, what do we know? But I don't know if at the time it's like people were just voting like, oh, I'm gonna feel like out of place if I don't vote for Out of Africa. You know what I mean? Like
I
that seemed to
mean,
be the big vote.
Does Cindy Pollock win this Oscar because Tootsie, like, he didn't win a lot of Oscars for Tootsie? Like, is that the reason that he gets this award? I mean, that's because that's the other thing that you always have to take into consideration is that sometimes people don't win Oscars for the movies they should win for. They will win for something afterward that isn't nearly as good. See, Al Pacino and Scent of a Woman is probably the best example that comes to mind. I mean, if you look at it, if you look at when Sidney Pollack was nominated 2 years earlier for Tootsie, he was against Sidney Lumet, Steven Spielberg for E.T., Wolfgang Peterson for Das Boot, and of course Richard Attenborough, who won for Gandhi. And I certainly I have feelings about Gandhi. Um, but I think that in terms of like Sidney Pollack probably should have won for Tootsie, but he ends up winning this because they owed him one because he didn't get it for Gandhi. He didn't win because of
And I
Gandhi.
think that at least he presented the movie that looks like an Academy Award winning movie, which I think kind of fooled people.
Oh
Like
yeah, I mean
I
that's
could that's what I could
absolutely.
see. Like it's got great cinematography. It's got great. I mean, there's live animals. There's like a lot of like, background actors, a
It
lot of
has a
like
lot of
actual Africans.
it has little moments. You could cut a trailer of this movie and make it look like a big sweeping
Yeah,
Oscar.
I mean, if you would have put this on an IMAX trailer, you would have fooled me into getting, into paying a ticket for it, kind of thing. Because there are some really great shots, but then there's just moments where it's like, oh shit, this is a movie about like colonialism at its heart, and we're not even getting behind any black characters. All the black characters, by the way, are just like side pieces.
They are window
Yeah,
dressing at best.
and we don't even get their perspective on things. We don't even get their perspective on World War One.
Nope.
Like, oh my goodness. And then the thing with World War One is like I guess it was a big deal in like I want to say northern Africa or something like that, but
I know it was in
closer to
World
the
War II.
Balkan, right? Because that's where the whole, I mean, that's where the powder keg, quote unquote, was the Balkan Peninsula.
Right. I'm not as
So
familiar with World War One
yeah,
history as
so
I
it's
World
kind
War
of weird
II.
that they didn't like go over that as much because you would have liked to see what they were going through, except you just saw it from her perspective on the outside. So that I don't know what the story that they were trying to tell here, and I know it's based on the book and the author's perspective of her trips in Africa, but it just seems like it's like pointless. It seems like there's no message. I don't know, man, because the heart of this story is like all these people deep down are just like there for no reason at all other than not wanting to stay in their own country because they just took it away from the Africans.
I mean, I certainly don't disagree with you. I think that there are a number of issues that I think this movie has in terms of the acting and but I think the thing that you're really honing in on the colonialism, I mean, that is the most problematic element. And of course, colonialism is very much in the news, not just because of this, but things in South Africa are really starting to come to a head. So these things are really starting to be focused upon. And look, I think that this is a movie that, you know, I think there's some really good elements to it. It's just it's totally unfortunate that this movie ultimately it ultimately fails because like there's just something missing, and I think a lot of it comes in the performances, and it's really unfortunate because I think well going into this movie, I had a little bit of an idea of what it was about, but for me, like I was thinking, okay, Robert Redford and Meryl Streep are going to kind of get us through this because like they're really good at what they do, and they just are going to be able to come in here, and even if the movie isn't great, they're going to be able to give us something for me to sink my teeth into. And that just that doesn't happen, and that is the most like that to me is the most disappointing element because again, in watching the trailer, I'm like, okay, the colonialism stuff is going to suck. Like, there is no doubt in my mind, and I'm glad that you've really talked about it because I do think it sucks, but I don't need to just reinforce everything you said. To me, the disappointment comes in with Redford and Meryl Streep because I'm just like, there's nothing there. Like, there just really isn't any. There's no chemistry between them. There's no feeling like they're in love with each other. There's like no carnal like feeling that you get, and that just it just feels very. The movie feels lethargic, and it just feels like there's nothing there beyond just having two really good actors, these gorgeous set pieces, and really good music. So I do want to say that Roger Ebert gave this movie 4 stars, and Gene Siskel gave it 2.5 stars. And for one of the rare times, I'm on Siskel's side.
Yeah, considering that I think Siskel gave a thumbs down to Jurassic Park, but a thumbs up to Carnosaur, which is one of the great debates of the Gene Siskel era of all time. But
Yeah,
in terms of, I think this movie had some good elements to it in terms of like, I think the lion scenes were really well done, to be honest. Um, some little awkwardness there, like, where's my gun? I can't find my gun. Tell me where my gun is.
I
Like,
mean
okay,
the problem is
you
with
should know where
when
your
you're
gun
at
is at all times in Africa, people, if you're on a hunt.
yeah, yes, but the other thing, like just acting with animals has to be just really hard. I can't imagine like trying to film wild
Yeah, and
animals.
And the thing is like this movie for those little parts worked well in terms of like suspense with the lions, which is why there's probably like a movie that got produced like 10 years later with uh I forget what it's called, but it's also got Michael Douglas in it. You know what I'm talking about? That lion movie from the 90s.
This is not ringing a bell to me.
Really? Wow, I forget the title, but it's one of the more famous lion hunt movies, and I was kind of expecting like this to go in that direction, and they kind of tease some of that stuff, but they didn't even go as far as to that. So, and I think that Robert Redford's character is interesting because he's going all these different safaris, and I would have been interested in him meeting all these different white rich people and how they react to him and how he reacts to them. You know what I'm saying? And how they react to the other black
I
folk
mean,
around. And
that
that would have been the more interesting plot, I think.
you might be hitting on the fundamental problem with the movie is that this movie, because it's based on Karen's the author's books, we are only getting her POV. And I would guess that another reason that this movie probably took home a lot of Oscars is this is a movie that is very much done from a female perspective, and I can see Academy Award voters looking for brownie points and being like, "See, this is a movie that has Meryl Streep in the lead. This is totally told from her perspective. Like, there's no gratuitous sex scenes. Like, we're gonna give this movie an Oscar for those reasons." Like, I could see the logic.
I can too. I can too. It's just disappointing considering that I know Sidney Pollack is like really good at like I don't know if it's just comedy and I don't know. He's really good at comedy and I don't think he just admits that or wanted to admit that back in the day when he was alive. Like I know he probably, you know, says that his movies are best when they're like dramas and stuff like that if you look at his filmography, but man, him as and Tootsie just directing all that was so funny and I think his best acting performance actually is not in Eyes Wide Shut, but in the 2 minutes that he was in Death Becomes Her when he plays that doctor. I thought he's hilarious in that. So,
Oh, he's
you know,
really
so
good in that. I mean,
yeah, he's in it
I'm
for
gonna
two
disagree.
minutes.
I'm going to disagree with you. I do actually think his best acting performance is Eyes Wide Shut, but Death Becomes Her is extremely underrated for a lot of reasons. But I mean, he is really really good in it. So a couple of fun facts for you, Brian. Do you realize that Robert Redford wanted to play Dennis as an Englishman and had an English accent? Can you imagine?
I know
Uh,
that's another issue I was going to bring up too, that they wouldn't. The original script and the original book has this guy as a British guy, and I think he's introduced as a British guy, but he takes the whole Jack Nicholson thing into the party where he's like, I'm not doing a Boston accent. I'm just gonna be me, and they just do him, and it's like Kevin Costner and Prince of Thieves. It's like they try at the beginning and they just
no,
do away with it.
I do. I almost appreciate the fact that they just didn't even bother. I
Well, I
think
mean,
we are
I
better.
think they
I think
filmed.
the
Didn't they
movie
say
is
they
better.
filmed a few scenes with his accent, and it just like, oh
Yeah, and
boy,
they had to
this.
overdub it, and it's
Yeah,
probably for the best.
yeah,
So
it happens.
most of the movie was filmed in Africa. I think it comes across really well. And again, I think this movie is another argument for why you shoot things on location. I think it really helps a lot because I think you feel the authenticity of the set design and the production design. Because this is obviously a throwback. It's supposed to take place 1913, basically through post World War One, and I think you feel that in a good way. I think you really just can tell that they filmed it on set.
For sure, and I appreciate that too. And like I mentioned before, anytime you get a bunch of extras on film, it makes it more authentic for scale. And of course, you know, CGI these days just takes the same blotch of people and multiplies them. But you know, of course, a movie like this, you got to bring in the scale. So, and it's 1985, it's that old school way of thinking. So, of course, they're going to do it that way. So, again, this is kind of one of those reasons why it got the votes. You know what I'm saying? It looks the part. It may not speak the part, but it looks the part, and that kind of gets you the WWE title sometimes.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I mean, I think look, I'm glad that we reviewed this movie, even though I don't think the movie is very good, if that makes sense. Because I don't think we're ever going to really have like, unless we do like a Best Picture month or something like that, I don't think we'll ever have a chance to really talk about something like this. Because, I mean, again, you look at so many of these Oscar winners from the 80s and they just don't get talked about very much at all. And it just feels like you're in a dead zone with so many of these movies that either don't get discussed or are not considered to be very popular. And I can see why. Yeah, do you want to say anything about Michael Go before we
I
Holiday.
mean, it's great that he's in it, but it just feels like it's just like a thoughtless part, like a not memorable part at all. And he's done so many great things. He's, of course, Alfred. Um, besides Alfred, he was also in like some of those British horror movies that I like from Hammer Horror. So, great actor. Just unfortunate that he was just kind of placed in a role that was kind of thankless and kind of pointless. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate, but he's a great name to have on the cast for sure. And I think it was just kind of one of those things to like bolster the star power of the cast and kind of like, oh, we got this name, we got this name, and of course Michael Gough is a great. I wouldn't say he's like a great British star, but he's definitely like a great memorable guy that you put in like a genre movie to kind of spice it up a little bit, give it some gravitas. He did elevate the scenes that he was in this movie for sure.
I do. The thing with Michael Gough to me always is like the fact that he is in all four of the Batmans. Like that always just has stuck with me because everybody else is in and out. They lose the director, they lose Batman, they lose. Every movie has a different villain, and Michael Gough is just the one constant. And it always sticks out to me, especially because Batman and Robin sucks, but like he is easily the best part of that movie, and it is always stuck with me, even though the franchise isn't its best.
So my final rating is a 4 out of 10. Your final rating is?
I'm at a 5 out of 10. I mean, I think I like this a little bit more, but certainly this is the weakest of the four movies that we talked about this month.
Yeah, it's because this is the second time I watched this movie. Like the first time I watched this was ninth grade. We were learning about Africa in ninth grade, right? So this was kind of the movie to show, the safe movie to show. So it kind of went out of my mind. And I was like, oh yeah, this is the movie where Robert Redford dies, and we don't see him die, and Meryl Streep is in it, and there's like a sad ending. And then come all these years later, nothing much has changed except it doesn't really, hold up as well. The performances are fine, but it's really the cinematography and the music that's holding things together. And it's still a depressing ending because Robert Redford dies. They don't admit that they love each other, and she just goes back to Denmark.
This has to be one of the few best picture winners to be rated PG. By the way,
Um, I guess so for the era because this is what post Temple of Doom, so this is a year after the PG-13 rating is
I mean,
introduced.
I think the PG-13 rating is coming out right around this time.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting, yeah, because after this, it's like things start pushing that PG-13 line, and that's kind of where a lot of the best picture goes to. So, but that kind of wraps up your birthday month, man. Happy birthday! You're 40 years old, and how you feeling about it?
I'm all right. I'm surviving. It is really hot right now, I'm feeling
Oh,
hot,
believe me,
but
we're feeling it here too. It's we're getting a tease because right now in Southern California, it's kind of humid. It tells you it's 80, folks, but it's really feeling like a 95 or that's gonna be the story of our summer, I think, which is gonna suck. But
and more wildfires, I'm sure, are coming.
oh yeah, for sure. And as the summer heats up, there's some sequels coming out that I've been waiting on for years, folks, and we're kind of building up to that. So, as you've heard, Happy Gilmore 2 is being released on Netflix on July 24th, I believe is the date. So, I'm excited for the movie. I know Jerome's kind of excited for it. We're very nostalgic for it because of, I guess, Carl Weathers, especially. He passed away a couple of years ago at this point. So, looking back now, it's like everyone wanted Happy Gilmore 2 to kind of happen after his death, and it kind of just happened. So, we're going to be reviewing Happy Gilmore 2 at the end of the month, but that means also we're going to review other Adam Sandler movies to build up to it. So the beginning of next week for July, it's going to be Adam Sandler month. We're going to start out with Happy Gilmore and the right match that fits it. I figured, it's also about hockey, it's about golf, but the hockey aspect, I think, it's what really the violent part of it. So we got to go with that. It's the Broad Street Bully match from Slamboree 1994. Cactus Jack and Kevin Sullivan versus the Nasty Boys. It's memorable for having a Broad Street Bully from the Philadelphia Flyers as their special referee and him getting involved, and this being probably one of the most violent matches of the era in '94. And it's a wild one, folks. And that's going to be a wild kind of
The
pairing
best
with Happy
match of the
Gilmore.
Nasty Boys' career.
You know, we could talk about that next week because I keep watching that Steiners match, and there's something special about that match where they didn't have to like rely on
I
tables and
I
stuff.
think this match
Well, we'll
blows
talk about it. We'll
yeah.
talk about it because the Nasty Boys are acquired taste, folks. But if you book them right, they can be really effective. Like, don't put them against Pretty Boys. Like, put them against like other brawlers, and you're gonna get a good brawl. So the next week after that is a movie that Jerome actually hasn't seen yet, and I've seen it a lot. It's The Wedding Singer. It's one of the more appreciated, heartfelt Sandler movies, I think, because it has a heart to it. The next week is going to be interesting because we're going to be talking about Pixels, and that's going to be in defense of, I guess, in my case, because I've been defending that movie for years now, and everyone I know hates it. So this is going to be a really interesting
Including
conversation.
me. So this will be fun.
This will be fun because I love stupid comedy, and this ties into sci-fi and video games. So this was up my alley all the way from the beginning. So there you go. And then of course we're going to end the month with Happy Gilmore 2. It's going to be one of those right fresh reviews for you. We're going to watch it right when it drops on Netflix and see what we think. But right now it's looking okay. They got Shooter McGavin back, which I like. He's been kind of hyping this movie up for the last 2 years on social media, and he kind of deserves it. And you got some legacy characters in there as well. They're going to make fun of the whole son of thing, that gimmick that everyone loves in these generational movies now, the son of or the daughter of the original main characters. So we're going to get that as well. It's going to be interesting. And you got, Adam Sandler had to learn how to golf again, but golfing is a sport where anyone can come back at like their 70s and have a comeback. And the fact they got John Daly for this, even better.
You also have Becky Lynch and MJF in the movie as well. So you
Yeah,
got both
I wonder how
WWE
that. I
and
wonder what the
AEW
politics.
represented.
Yeah, I wonder what the politics on set were like for that. I don't know if they filmed on the same day,
I don't think that really matters. I
but
don't
it
think it
seems
matters.
like MJF got more lines in this movie than Becky Lynch, so that's going to be the interesting thing. Let's see if MJF has a breakout role. I don't know,
Well,
but
I know
you
that
never know.
WWE specifically requested a trailer that did not have MJF in it to run, which I think is really ballsy on their part to ask Netflix to do that.
Well, I mean, they got the hookup, so if anyone's got the hookup more so, it's WWE, obviously, with their Raw connection. So I guess they can kind of have more carte blanche, but
Have
it's
you
going to
seen
be
the raw
interesting.
ratings?
I
If
don't
you've
even pay
looked at the
attention to that.
Oh, believe me, if you did, you would realize that they're not doing so hot on the old Netflix machine.
Oh, well, okay. Well, the more you know, I guess. I didn't even know. So there you go, folks. There you go.
All right, so that is it for this week. Again, we will be doing Adam Sandler month in July as things heat up and people go into the sand. Maybe we could get Hayden Christensen's feeling on sand too.
Oh boy, as long as he has the higher ground, right?
That's always Obi-Wan. Never forget it. All right, so for Brian, I'm Jerome. Thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you again next week.